Viewers, welcome back to TFT Perspective. This is Vakar Korvi, and today we're going to talk about the Farce election, which is being taken place in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Started on 18th of September and is going to continue till 1st October. Two phases have been completed, and I'm sure later on Indian media and their cohorts in international media are going to claim that they were fair elections and people have elected an assembly, and later on maybe uh, occupied Kashmir is given some status in form of statehood. Now there have been, I think, six important areas where India has played so far. This has been a long battle since 1948, but more recently, from 2019, 5th August, we've seen uh, exploitation of the Kashmiris in occupied Kashmir in I would say in six domains. So one is of course demographic. We'll discuss it in detail. Then there have been geographic splitting of the occupied Kashmir into two zones. You have Ladakh, where India has tried to play smart because then of course although Kargil is Muslim majority, but then they'll be able to within that so-called union territory uh, basically get the Buddhist vote and some Hindu vote to form the government. Then we have the Valley and Jammu, which has now become a union territory. So there have been a geographic bifurcation. Cartographic is related to what is happening to the maps. There's a map war going on. India has put a lot of claims on Aksai chain, which is held by China. Although they lost some area in Ladakh very recently in 2020, and then also on Gilgit-Baltistan and Azad Kashmir, which is affiliated with Pakistan. They're trying to make some, cartographic claims. In terms of lawfare, India has violated at three levels. Internationally, it has literally thrown the UN Security Council resolution into the dustbin and totally violated it. And then it claims that it should be given a seat, permanent seat, a veto power in the Security Council. Regionally, if you look at China, Pakistan, India, all three have interest in the occupied Kashmir. Things are not settled down. India-China border is 3,500 kilometer long and it is undemarcated. So there is definitely a cartographic element to that. And then, of course, it is related to Pakistan. In terms of bilateral agreements with Pakistan, like Shimla Agreement, India has totally violated it, not even bothered to ask Pakistan, and then went ahead with abrogation of Article 317-35, which was technically their internal matter, but mainly it was to change the status of occupied Kashmir, which you can't do it as per UN resolution. And then comes internal law. What happened to the old state of Jammu and Kashmir, that Mehbooba Mufti and Abdullah have been telling, actually their forefathers have been telling the Kashmiris that they'll get their right from a prime minister. They were downgraded to chief ministers, and now they are into a union territory which is ruled by a lieutenant governor. So this lawfare is going on. Then is of course electoral. That exercise that we are seeing how gerrymandering has been done in constituencies, especially in order to basically give weight to Jammu region instead of Kashmir Valley, which is definitely larger economic and demographic weight. This is especially where they played with the scheduled caste constituencies or votes, which is definitely in favor of Jammu. And then, of course, is the way it's being done. Then is, of course, informational. Indian media is trying to convince the international community and the people of Kashmir that everything is hunky-dory, that we know that south of Pipanjal, joint resistance is picking up. It's becoming very, very difficult for Indian military. And mind you, it is almost 1.1 million deployed in occupied Kashmir. Last is military, which is basically you do it through the barrel of a gun. Every street has an Indian soldier standing outside. As I mentioned, it's 1.1 million since 2019. A lot of additional military and paramilitary was shoved into it. Despite that, later on, they had problem with China. Still in occupied Kashmir, they have maintained a military stance because they fear the moment they thin out, probably there's going to be Kashmiris rising up. India can't afford it. I always say that give me that much military, 1 million, I'll put a curfew in Maharashtra for 5 years and see who comes out. So this is basically elections also taking place from barrel of a gun. Now coming to certain statistics, overall population of Jammu and Kashmir, Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir is 15 million, which is quite a large if you compare it in terms of demography with some of the European countries are smaller than that. Within that, Kashmir, mainly valley and surrounding area, north of Pir Panjal is almost 9 million and Jammu is 6 million. I think we should remember this figure is very important. Now, we look at the constituencies and the seats given, you will definitely find a disproportionate weight given to Jammu. And main reason is that they want basically either to have a chief minister for Hindu community or have their own chief minister by manipulation. Technically, if there are number of seats like 90, I think more than 60 should have gone to the valley itself and maybe 32. But you'll find it very interesting that it is other way around. Now in Kashmir Valley or the Kashmir Division, Muslims form almost 96 to 97% population. Hindus are 2.45 and Sikhs are 0.81%. Whereas in Jammu Division, again, we have substantial Muslim population. In certain areas, they are majority. I'll just mention it. Muslims form 30%, mainly south of Pir Panjal, and Hindus are 66%. So if you look at Muslim majority district within Jammu Division, in Rajouri you have 63%, Poonch is 90%, Doda 54%, Kishtwar 58%, and Ramma is 71%. This is, I think, and this is also the area where we are finding, joint resistance and Kashmir Tigers fighting it out with the Indian military. So it should not come as a surprise that this area becomes the main base of freedom struggle. Hindu majority districts are mainly Kathua, 88%, Samba. Now these are basically south of Parmandal range. There is some plain area opposite Sialkot and Shakargarh. Jammu is 84%, Udhampur, where they have the command headquarters, is 88%. Now if you look at the voters again, there has been some gerrymandering. Kashmir Valley was basically given registered voters 4.6 million and Jammu is 4.1 million. Now we're looking at the 90 seats. 74 are the general seats, mean that it's going to be an open contest, and 7 are reserved for scheduled caste, and all scheduled castes are with Jammu region. Very interesting. Now scheduled tribes, which basically Pahadis and Gujjars and Bakkarwals, again there have been some manipulation, given 9, so they are divided, and all basically 7 scheduled caste seats are with Jammu. And 6 out of 9 scheduled tribes seats are also in Jammu. So technically, if you look at these 16 seats which were reserved for other communities, less 3, all will be with Jammu region. So definitely Jammu gets an advantage. Now coming to the schedule of elections, as I mentioned, it started on 18 September. This has already been held, and there has been propaganda in the media that there was a large turnout. September 25th was the second phase, and October 1st will be the last phase. Mainly, what they do is mainly because of security reason and in order to keep the pressure on the voters, they would do it, in different districts simultaneously in Kashmir Valley and also in Jammu, and then they make sure that votes are basically accordingly, casted. Now, if you come to the first phase, it is being claimed that 2.3 million people have casted vote, which I really doubt, and turnout is 61%. Let's see what happens, after the election. Now, looking at the, what's happening with the Kashmiris mainly. There's also an element of how they've divided the Muslim population, especially the political parties. So new parties have cropped up. There are, I think, almost 40 people, 40 seats where you have 40%, the candidates are independent or azad. So it means there's going to be a lot of inflow of money and operation and exploitation, and later on they're going to try to form that BJP comes to power. We have Mehbooba Mufti, we have Abdullah, and then there are smaller parties, and you'll find new names also. So mainly it's a farce exercise. I think first thing to be noted out of entire gambit in occupied Kashmir, this is internationally recognized dispute and it has to go with the UN Security Council resolutions, and this is the oldest resolution lying on the table of United Nations. So it means that Kashmiris are not going to accept these fast, and India has done this exercise in the past also. So we have seen it happening. Then, of course, if you look at the demographic factor, I think there have been 3.2 million domicile certificates which were issued recently, especially after 2019. And these were given to the non-resident. And laws have been changed because Lieutenant Governor has a lot of powers. And this is being endorsed by the Indian Supreme Court. They say basically it's an administrative decision. So it means that they can basically now pump in 3.2 million. In case later on even a referendum takes place, so India will have an advantage. Then, of course, as I mentioned, this proportionate increase in state assembly seats for Jammu. Overall, if you look at the increase, 6 for Jammu and 1 for Valley, and this is basically manipulated majority is being given to Jammu region. Even if you look at delimitation of constituencies, 22 constituencies have been redrawn through gerrymandering with the name of creating Hindu majority, and so there have been areas which are overlapping. So mainly, there are also 5 seats available with the governor, 3 for the migrants and 2 for the pundits. So it means 5% of seats is the governor's, the way he wants to give it. All told, I think the world will watch that this is a sham election, and it has been done, as I mentioned, through 6 important factors. Kashmir is under assault, basically whether it is a lawfare, whether it is demographic change, cartographic change, geographic trisection being attempted, use of blatant lawfare internationally, bilaterally, and within India or occupied Kashmir, and then of course employment of information operations, and then presence of military 1.1 million. So every street has an Indian soldier standing outside. If you look at the proportion, it's almost on every, I think, 6 Kashmiris, 1 Indian soldier is standing outside their house. So that's all. I think we leave it to the audience. How do they view it? Please put up your comments and do like and subscribe. Thank you very much.